Welcome to another episode of the Helpdesk, hosted by Integris. I am your host, Anthony DeGraw. This is my first one in a while. I've handed over the keys to this, but for our special guest today, I wanted to make a comeback. So today I have Sylvia Brookshire. She is an account executive out of our Denver office. So she is on the West Coast, or what I would consider the West Coast. What do you guys call Denver? Is it the Midwest? What is it?
Well, we call Denver awesome, but no, we're not the Midwest. No, we're getting to be like the great Western states. Yeah, but we're not really West Coast. We're not really East Coast. It's just kind of, we're in the middle here and, you know,
It's a
it's
bunch,
the wild, wild West.
I was going to say a bunch of awesomeness.
A bunch of awesomeness. Yeah.
Oh, so Sylvia wanted to come on. She grew up in a small business household, and she wanted to come on and discuss how MSPs can help small businesses not only today but also tomorrow. So, with that, Sylvia, I'm going to hand it over to you. Maybe you want to just give the audience a little bit of your background and how
Sure.
we got to this point, and then we'll jump into some questions.
Sure. So I come from an immigrant background. My parents immigrated from Baghdad, Iraq in 1980, which at the time was a real socialist kind of dictatorship. And my dad got to the United States and he saw just all the greater potential of capitalism, which during the 80s, capitalism rang true and Reagan was the president. And my dad absolutely loved it. He loved the idea of a man could go out with $100 in his pocket at the start of the week. And if he had that entrepreneurial spirit, he'd end up with 1,000 by the end of the week. So my parents, like a lot of immigrants who have come to this country, own small businesses. And that's the way that I was raised. And I was raised helping out in those small businesses. So after school or on the weekends. And that really drove home to me that the small businesses, which comprise 32 million of them currently in the United States, that's what's paying for those ballerina lessons, or that's what's paying to put food on the table. Currently, small businesses account for 64% of the job growth in our country. They account for 48.75% of employees. So it just gave me a greater understanding of that, being raised in that culture, being raised in that, hey, can do spirit. Let's get out there. Let's build a business. Let's have a vision. Let's see where we can take it. Anthony, for me, I've always enjoyed that. That's always been something integral for me.
Absolutely. I actually, so I'm going to ask you a question and then afterwards, I'm going to give you my take on it because I have a similar story from a small business household and I'm working in that. But what got you to Integris and into the IT and cybersecurity world? And how does that play directly into what you were just talking about with small businesses?
Well, so for small businesses, a lot of times you don't have the capital to be able to hire that giant IT team, or you don't have the capital to really do the research on the continuity of the products that you need to keep your business safe. A lot of people, when I'm out there talking to them, will say, I don't think I'll be targeted by cybercrime or ransomware because I'm just so small. But that's exactly who these ransomware and these malicious people out there want to target because they know that you don't have the resources. So part of what drew me to Integris was the fact that I could bring this high level of service to these people, this high level of security to these small and medium sized businesses without the same kind of cost. And I just felt like that was a brilliant way of going about it. Like I said, I enjoy helping people in these situations. I enjoy being a part of that. When the job was laid out for me, it really just made sense for what I wanted to do. I enjoy working, but I also enjoy the almost servitude of working and helping people in a situation that's really fulfilling for me. So, I've had some small businesses where it's a sophisticated business. Like, for example, I had a trucking business. It's a sophisticated trucking business, but they're not sophisticated as far as IT goes. And they were definitely starting to get those attacks coming in. So, us coming in and being able to help them with their security and their continuity, that actually means something in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. My end of this story, which is similar, is I was on the commercial insurance side. And your standard policies, your general liability for slips and falls, your property coverage if you have fires, flood coverage, all this kind of stuff. And I was doing a lot of cybersecurity. And in my head, over the years of doing it, didn't know about the MSP community or really what was available there to small businesses. But once I found out, it resonated with me. Took about 3 years for me to make the switch, but the switch really occurred for me. If I'm really trying to fight the cybersecurity battle for small, medium-sized businesses that really need the education and help, and I think, Sylvia, as you mentioned, like the servitude of you really are helping them solve a problem, educate them on where's the world out today? Because it's different than when your father built his business in the 1980s. It's a different risk. So in my head, it went to, I don't want to just sell them another insurance policy. Like, it's great. They do need it. If an incident does happen, it will protect them and help cover the cost. But a lot of this battle could be fraught on the front side. If we do the right things up front, the insurance policy is just more of a safety net if anything does happen. And once I made that connection, I was like, yeah, it's time to go from the insurance side and after things happen to let's try and prevent the things from happening even in the first place. So I love your journey over to Integris and what that looked like.
Yeah, it was an exciting situation for me. I had never been exposed to the MSP world. We always thought of IT like that was that nerdy guy that's down in the basement that every so often I have to call. So getting that exposure into the MSP world, I was like, man, this helps a lot of people. And it helps a lot of people in really critical situations.
Absolutely. I think a lot of us who came from outside the industry just think of IT of like when we were in other businesses, like, oh, that's what they do. And then
Yeah.
it's the MSP world, you're like, wow. I think the other thing is like the MSP community has also significantly evolved. I think initially we were looked at more as a trade when these businesses in the 90s and early 2000s started to form. We were looked more under like a break fix type of agreement, like a plumber or an electrician, where,
Mhm.
hey, when I have a problem, I call them, they bill me hourly, and then we go on from there. And the level of sophistication now with cybersecurity, technology, the profession has really elevated itself from where it used to be.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And then we're able to, in a lot of regards, partner with these small to medium sized businesses. I think the SBA was saying that they define a small business as 500 or less employees. 500 employees seems like a larger business to me, right? But that's how they define it. And that's 99.9% of the businesses in the United States, which is crazy to me. And when you really think about it, like when you think about a 50-person business trying to hire for the type of scope of work that we do as an MSP, the return on investment when you run the ROI is just phenomenal. So that's something that I took into consideration as well.
Yeah, there's a couple of sayings that we like to use. One of them is HABU, HABU, which stands for highest and best use. And I'll go back to your trucking example. Is like they know how to run a trucking business. They've been doing it probably for 30 years. They're experts in that. They're not experts in hiring IT folks or what to even look for. And then a lot of times they get thrown the question, what do you want to hire? Do you want to hire a CIO level individual or an IT manager that's going to set the direction and the strategy, but doesn't want to work on the nuts and bolts? Or do you hire that lower end level one, level two individual that's going to work on the nuts and bolts, but isn't going to be able to set the direction and strategy for you? So 100% is like they're caught in this conundrum, even if they do want to bring it in. And over my time here at Integris, I've seen a big shift of you used to see onboarded IT professional at around 50 employees. And that number has significantly moved to about 100 to 150 people before you're seeing these businesses bring in that talent and rather go to the managed services community to get access to it.
And then honestly, Anthony, if you think of the cost, nowadays it's just tough to hire anyways. So whatever that person's salary is, let's just for numbers sake that that person's salary is $100,000. You're going to pay 30% more just to the feds via health insurance, via your taxes. So you're at $130,000 for that one person. And that one person who is a human being, who goes on vacation, who gets sick, who might not necessarily see all the things that we see. 400 technicians and engineers nationwide, we have this huge scope of people that we can go to and say, "Hey, have you ever seen this? How can I utilize you for whatever I have going on? How can I utilize your expertise?" This is just one lonely person out there trying to handle your environment for you. Now, the nice thing about what we've been doing as well is not only do we have these managed service options where we're in there and we're helping you with everything, we're partnering with you, but then we can also partner with these IT teams that are out there as well and say, "Hey, do you just want our tools? Here are our tools." Our tools have this like deep level of continuity. And then we have that 24/7 security alert system. And then that IT department can go home. That IT department can go on vacation and everything's still running correctly in your environment.
And those folks definitely want to be able to take a vacation every once in a while and not feel like the whole thing is going to come crashing down on them. So I wanted to ask you, outside of obviously the hiring challenges of even bringing somebody like that in, what are some of the other challenges you're seeing face these small and medium sized businesses around the world that we live in every day?
So I think we're in a brand new world with COVID. I think we had 31% of small businesses during COVID were rendered completely non operational. So a lot of these businesses had to turn to online sources. So they had to look at, hey, how's our online doing? How are we trying to get this product to the customer via the pandemic? So a lot of places have changed how they've done business, I think. So we're seeing a lot of that. The other thing that really sparked during the pandemic, I think, is just the spike in ransomware and malware. It's been incredible how much deviant activity has been going on in those regards. And I think even Joe Biden came out and said, "Hey, we have to just have like standard security out there for everybody because we are just getting attacked at this rate that is consistent and constant." And all these small businesses, it can put you in a really bad spot. Those are the two things that I think are really challenging for small businesses right now, along with the hiring. So I think that's the trifecta there.
Absolutely. Yeah. One example of that is we had a small windows and door manufacturer. I want to say 30 to 50 folks, been in business for a little while. And luckily or unluckily, I don't know how you want to define the situation, but the owner of that business watched his friend get two ransomware attacks back to back, one in which he wrote a check for 25,000. The criminals waited 6 months and then they did it again and charged him another 25,000. So overall, he's $50,000 in the hole to keep his business up and running. The owner of this window and door manufacturer basically put his hands in the air and said, "Look, I've never invested in any of this kind of stuff, but I would rather write you guys a $30,000 check today to get me up to speed than to give criminals the 50 grand and still be at zero with no environment in place."
Yeah.
Uh, so luckily he learned through another example. It wasn't himself, but those are sometimes the stories, unfortunately, that are motivating some of these SMB owners to actually make a difference in their environment.
Well, not just that. I think a lot of states have enacted legislation that if you do have a breach, like I know in the state of Colorado right now, if you do have a breach that affects 500 Coloradans, you do need to report it to the attorney general. Once the state gets involved, of course, this gets reported out to all your customers that there was this breach of information. And for me, like I said, growing up in that small business environment, your customers are everything. And you, first of all, don't want to think of losing their information in those regards. And second of all, you don't want that to affect your business. Because I think generally when people know an institution or a company lost their information, they tend to be hesitant about doing business with them again, which is understandable.
Yeah, absolutely. The reputation hit is that unknown factor of, you're going to lose some people. It's not going to be good PR that you have to tell your customers that, but putting a dollar amount associated with that is usually pretty difficult. But
Mhm.
there's a lot of pain and emotion attached with that going out into the news of the public or whatever the case may be. I usually try and tell them it's about, I use the Equifax data breach as the best example of that. It's a massive company in terms of Equifax, but when they reported their data breach, I think it was within 6 weeks of them reporting it, their stock took a 20% hit. And obviously for them, that's billions of dollars, and that doesn't resonate well with SMB owners. But I say just use that 20% number. If you're a $5 million business, 20% is $1 million. If you're a $1 million business, 20% is 200,000, whatever the case may be. But that gave the first time I saw like some sort of value associated with the reputational risk that folks will take from data breaches, ransomware attacks, and things like that. I wanted to touch real quick. What does a premier MSP like Integris bring to the table to help solve these challenges that we've talked about?
So the way that I always describe it to a lot of my clients is I go back to the good old days of the IT department in the basement, right? So you're working for this big company, whoever it might be, they make widgets, and you have this IT department that handles everything. Nobody sees them because they're always down in the basement or the renegades, but they handle everything. So kind of soup to nuts. We get all those employees onboarded, offboarded. We make sure they have everything that they need to work. If an employee's out and about and they happen to forget their laptop in the airport, no worries, you call us. So we're like a true partner. Everything about what we do is like being a true partner. Like I said, think of that IT department in the basement that handles everything. We don't really see or hear from them, but they're a top-notch IT department and they have everything. And the neat thing about that is that you might be a business of 20 and you wouldn't have even thought to hire this gorgeous IT department with the best of the best in the country. But now you have it at a fraction of the price. So that's the way that I always describe it to people. And I think some of the things that people really appreciate are the smaller things, right? So we have our SOC, we have all the tools, we have all that continuity going to where we get your environment locked down and we have it just taking away. And if there's an issue, you're calling into our help desk or you're emailing into our help desk and you don't even have to think about it. But something like the littler things that I appreciate and then I think a lot of my clients appreciate is you're not calling vendors anymore. So that internet's out, you're calling us and we're calling that company. You're not dealing with the inventory of your hardware anymore. We're handling that for you. You have someone on our team that works directly with you in our VCIO who sits there and goes, let's sit down and talk about a budget for the next 5 years for your IT needs. Let's go ahead and strategize what we think your disaster recovery should be so that if something happens, we're ready to go. We're ready to roll. So I think that that's the thing that we bring to the table to these companies to where they're like, here. And we just take it from them and we own it. And then we're their partners in that. I think that's what makes us premier. And I think that's what a lot of clients, when I give my presentation to them and I start talking about the little things, they get very like, you can do that? You can do that? It builds that and they get very excited for that relationship. And in truth, if their company grows, obviously we grow with them. So it's very symbiotic. And if we're all working the right way, the same way together, we fit in, we make them grow, we grow in return. And it's the way the business should be done.
Absolutely. Everything you say just hits the nail on the head. I mean, we're looking for long-term partnerships, right? I make the comment of you don't change IT providers like you change your car insurance every 6 months. It's a big lift to make that move. It's a big partnership to understand how each other works and how your business operates and how we can best serve you. So if we're knocking it out of the park, as Sylvia explained, it's a long-term partnership and we want to grow with you. We want to celebrate your successes. We want to celebrate those awards and the new office build outs and the growth of your team. That's to me, that's what it's all about. And as we started this conversation, making sure those small businesses that Sylvia and myself came from are protected and they can continue to do the missions that they're set out to do so we can pay for the dance recitals and the karate classes and the soccer clubs and doesn't matter where you are in the United States. So Sylvia, I want to thank you so much for coming on the help desk and sharing your wisdom and knowledge with the audience.
Thank you, Anthony. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. Good stuff, Sylvia.
All right. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.